Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Thursday the 16th of May. So we've seen some quite hefty moves, well, this week actually, but certainly yesterday. So before we look at those moves, let's have a quick look at the news events. Of course, the big thing yesterday was let me just refresh this, was the inflation data. There we go. So you've got everything up on to date now. So Wednesday, the CPI came in at 0.3 for the US there versus 0.4. We're just discussing this. I mean, inflation is still high there. It's not. It's not okay. The previous was 3.5, so it's dropped 0.1. So okay, they were worried that it was going back the other way completely, but it's still particularly high. And I mean, at least one Fed member has suggested that rates might need to be increased before they're dropped, but that's probably falling on deaf ears at the moment. Maybe because the dollar was overbought so much. Yeah, we just had this conversation. But whatever. We're seeing the dollar soften on any crumb of evidence that it might be slowing down. Not necessarily it is where it should be, but rates might come down. We've got to remember, of course, that rates are for the US amongst the highest. So they're certainly higher than Europe and Australia, etc. So we could be a bit of catch up from that perspective. Anyway, if we look then at today, we've got not a great deal now. We've had the Australian data come out, which was a bit of a mixed bag. The unemployment rate increased overall, but the employment changed in the month positively. Weird old cross numbers, but there we go. Japanese GDP came in at minus 0.5, not particularly great, but hasn't done a lot of damage to the yen, I can assure you. Anyway, the rest of the elsewhere then, not a lot more significant data there. We might get a bit of movement in this data later, and tomorrow nothing massive. We've had FOMC speakers all week. So yeah, another one. Which one was he going to be talking about? Due to speak at payments innovation. Don't think that's going to do a lot. So I'm not even sure why it's there in that respect, but speaker's a speaker. Right, let's look at the technicals then. So the euro, eventually it was tapping on the door of this trend line yesterday. It broke through the level, and well, it was already structurally in a higher low. We saw higher lows coming through, and you can see it clearly on here. This week it's been a particularly good week for the euro, pushing up quite strongly. Yesterday, a bit up and down for a phase there. What am I looking for today? Well, maybe if we can get this move back to the pivot, we'll see if we can get a bounce off the pivot. That would be quite nice. So I'm looking for that as a potential bounce. So there we go. Now it's still got. I mean, you could scalp it back down there, but there's a high probability of being hit. But you never know what happens post 8 o'clock. It can all go a bit different. The pound, well, the pound again, much more solid this week. It's been pushing up quite nicely. Yesterday, best day for quite some time, really. Solid movements there, and this could be a sign of more and more money coming back into the pound, perhaps. But anyway, higher lows coming through. It's clear on that 4-hourly again. Again, similar picture here. We have actually just pushed back above its quarterly pivot here, which is a more bullish place to be. We are just dropping our head below it, but maybe later we can get back above that. It's even more bullish, but for now I'm again looking to see if we get this move back to the daily pivot to see if we get a bit of action off there. So just looking for a bit of continuation. I don't expect to see the moves that we've seen in the last couple of days. I pre-warned you of inflation this week may create the volatility. Not a lot of movement outside of those. There was a drift, which was okay. Actually on Wednesday, sorry, Tuesday, there wasn't much going on at all there, but just be wary. Anyway, we could, as I say, I'm looking for these corrections first. Dollar yen. If it just runs through those pivots, then then I won't be chasing. By the way, dollar yen. Just say a bit surprised on this with the data that's come out, the GDP data. But why should I be surprised then when news doesn't really work the way you expect it sometimes? We have, for quite a part of this week, seen the yen strengthening. It seems to have been consolidating. Maybe this is a bit of a reaction to that GDP data at the moment, and we could see a bigger correction with the yen. Be quite nice back to its pivot, that's for sure. But yeah, it's putting a little higher low in here, so the short term I wouldn't want to be trading that set. I wouldn't be looking for the sell on that for sure. The Australian dollar, well, we saw a good move here. The jobs a bit mixed there, and we're seeing a reaction on those mixed jobs at this stage. Well, this is the key point again. We're not too far away from the daily pivot now. If we still see it breaking through that, I would stand aside of it. If we see it consolidate and hold around there, there's a potential on the bounce side there, but I think the better bets are the euro, maybe the pound. And the euro, the pound's been doing pretty well. The New Zealand dollar is following the Aussie, of course, as it normally does, just dropping back a little bit here. We're seeing, to be fair, we're seeing all the markets pulling back a little bit at the moment, softening against the dollar, maybe overextended, a bit overbought, so just watch for the corrections. And again, maybe with the New Zealand dollar, that flew off yesterday. That started moving, had moved a long way before the news yesterday for whatever reason. It's made quite a big. It's one of its got to be one of its biggest days there yesterday. I'm just having a look at the end of day bars. Yeah, quite a solid old movement there. It takes a wider range back here somewhere, maybe in a similar range nearer term, but that's one hell of a range. But again, there could be potential for them to come back here as well. Dollar Swissy, it's the ugliest of the markets for me. It has broken a bit of a neckline or a trend line, a support line. That's the word. It's early morning. It has broken that sort of support level there, but bouncing back above at the moment. But again, it's got a daily pivot above it. Whether it gets as far as there is another matter. I think the better options really this morning are like the euro and the pound. They're much closer relatively, and they may well both get there. Now, if this, I'm just looking at the pound here. If it doesn't, well, it's sitting right at that quarterly pivot. If it closes above it at the end of this hour and starts pushing up, or maybe it's on for its R1 and maybe beyond. It's just got that extra element of potential support there. Right, I will leave it there, and I'll catch you later. Take care. Oh, well, I forgot about the other markets. Hang on a minute. Gold. So gold, again, weaker dollar. We've seen the gold pushing up there, quite solidly pushing up there yesterday again. This week again had largely a reasonable week. It did drop off in the early, leading into the early part of the week, but recovered and made more at the moment. Again, here there's a sign of weakness with the potential. If it heads off towards the pivot here, it will put lower high, and these the sort of A, B, C movements are just that little bit weaker. We'll see where it does there, but it does look a little bit softer. Oil just really bouncing around here. It's found its quarterly pivot, its yearly pivot, and it's happy around there. This quarterly pivot is actually there as well. I thought that's a quarterly pivot around that way. Yesterday sold off, come back in the afternoon there. Maybe it's going to start showing signs of a potential afternoon trade each day again, but it was against its trend at the moment, so not looking to trade counter trend. Anyway, looking at S&Ps then, new all-time highs yesterday, yet again. Never failed to amaze me. As I said earlier, one interest rate is giving it enough boost, or one cut is giving it, or possibly two, rather than 3 or 4, is giving it enough boost to take it into the highs. And well, dollar selling. I would be surprised if it gets back to its weekly pivot here, daily pivot here today, the way it's moving. But who knows? We could see anything in these markets at the moment, and Nasdaq's the same. So really, all making new highs, he says, across these markets. So well, potential for continuation, a squeeze on those shorts. DAX coming off a little bit this morning. If you're looking at this, it's following the other markets, just coming off. Not far short of its pivot here. This could be quite nice if it does hit into the pivot. Nice bit of support. Previous highs sitting around this area here as well. So a bit of confluence along with a 34. Just see what happens there. It'd be quite nice if it did just come down there. And finally the FTSE. FTSE's been just going and going recently, catching up. Bit messier on the 4 hourly, not really so convincing this week. And when you look at the shorter time frame here, it doesn't look as good at all. I mean, it did go in the earlier morning there, take the highs out, but not a good day for it yesterday. And this might be the weaker, well, certainly it looks the weaker of them all at this stage. Even though I'm saying it looks weak, look at it as a daily picture, and it's still solid. It's just on that shorter time frame, it certainly looks a bit iffy. Right, okay, good morning. Can we check the euro? I've already done the euro pound, a euro dollar. You can catch it for Pilo, because I'm just aware that a lot of people are on their way. If you just rerun this, it will be available in just a couple of minutes on the live, so you can catch up with the euro dollar. Basically, I'm looking for a retrace back to its daily pivot for potential long. Right, so in summary, here we go. Look, in summary then, for both the pound and the euro, I'm looking just to see if we get back to these pivots. These daily pivots. We'll see how they run this morning. Right, on that note, catch you later. Bye for now.